Welcome to Karma Chronicles. Please like the video and subscribe. Let's begin.
The voicemail hit just after lunch. I was standing in the kitchen scrolling through a grocery list on my phone when it buzzed with that little gray box. One new voicemail, no caller ID. But I knew that voice the second it started playing. Linda, we've decided it's best you don't come to the reunion. Things have changed. We're going a different direction as a family. Please don't reach out again. That was it. No emotion, no hesitation. Just Warren, my father, making a damn business call out of cutting off his daughter. I didn't replay it, didn't need to. I set the phone down on the counter, stared out the window at the neighbor's overgrown hedge, and just stood there for a second. My hands weren't shaking, my heart wasn't racing. Nothing flared up, it was quiet inside me, calm, like my body had already rehearsed this 100 times. I picked up the phone and typed out a text. Just one word. Understood. Then I opened my laptop, logged into the loan portal, and navigated to the account for Wells and Sons Development Group. 2 years ago, I'd co-signed a loan, $2.5 million, so Rhett and Warren could break ground on the new location in Bend. They couldn't qualify a loan. They needed my credit, my clean financial record, my stable income. I gave it without a fight. I was still clinging to the idea that being part of the family meant showing up, even when no one asked you to. That loan made the expansion possible. Their shiny new office, their new contracts, the logo etched in the glass. And I was never thanked. Not once. I clicked into the Guarantor tab, scrolled down, hit Request Removal. The screen flashed a warning. You are not listed as a primary guarantor. Your removal will be reviewed immediately. I clicked Confirm. Just like that, I was out. Quick note, before listening, share which city or country you're watching from. I leaned back and stared at the ceiling. That voicemail hadn't been a rupture. It was confirmation. Proof of what had already been happening for years. The slow bleed of being excluded. The casual erasure. The fake smiles at holidays. The one-word replies to my emails. The silence when I brought in a new client or closed a deal. Warren hadn't cut ties today. He'd just finally said it out loud. And weirdly, I wasn't hurt. I was free. I shut the laptop, stood up, and grabbed my keys. It was time to start cleaning house. I drove straight to the storage unit. Didn't even think about it. Just pulled in, punched the code, and parked outside the one with the peeling 302 sticker. Inside was everything I'd boxed up over the years. Old planners, pitch decks, copies of tax filings, and a stack of 3-ring binders labeled operations, marketing, vendor contracts, all in my handwriting. I stood there staring at them like I was looking at someone else's life. I used to call myself the glue, quietly holding it all together while Rhett ran around networking and Warren obsessed over legacy. I was the one who made the systems run, hiring temps, cleaning up billing errors, smoothing out payroll when the cash flow got tight. But growing up, I was never seen for it. I was just the one who remembered to refill the printer paper. Rhett was the heir. He had the ideas, the charisma, the dramatic hand gestures. Warren used to say, "He's got vision. You've got follow-through," like that was some kind of compliment. It wasn't. Even back in high school, it was obvious. Rhett got the truck at 16. I got a used laptop and a polite nod. He blew through 3 majors in college and still got a family card. I worked 2 jobs and was told not to ask for help. And my mom? She was always just on the edge of the room, folding laundry or stirring something on the stove, saying, "He's building something for us. Just give it time." She said that for 20 years. After grad school, I got an offer from a firm in Boston. 6 figures, full benefits, path to partner. I turned it down. Told myself family mattered more. Told myself I could help build something here instead. That was the lie. While I was reorganizing workflows and securing vendor discounts, Rhett was flying to Denver to pitch potential investors, which always meant bar tabs and Instagram photos of overpriced cocktails. When the bank hesitated on the expansion loan, Warren called me, not Rhett, me. He said, "We just need your signature. You've got the clean record, solid income. They'll approve it with you on board." And like a damn idiot, I signed, because in my head, that signature meant something. I thought it made me real to them, locked in, part of the inner circle. But now I know it was just leverage. They didn't need me. They needed my score. I used to think being needed was the same thing as being loved. But love doesn't erase you. It sees you, all of you, even the parts that aren't convenient. Warren never wanted connection. He wanted control. Rhett didn't want a partner. He wanted a stage crew. I was never in the family business. I was just a part of the system that kept it running. Until I wasn't useful anymore. The folders in front of me suddenly looked like a crime scene. Neat, tidy, intentional. All those late nights spent proving I belonged. All those sacrifices disguised as loyalty. It made my chest feel tight. I dropped the box I was holding and slammed the door shut. Enough. They'd already replaced me. With silence. With some junior assistant probably nodding along while Rhett spit out buzzwords he barely understood. I didn't get edged out. I got erased. And now, I was done pretending it hadn't already happened. The first real crack came in that Monday budget meeting. We were in the glass conference room, the one with the half-dead fern and the flickering light that nobody ever fixed. I had a printed spreadsheet in front of me, highlighter marks all over it. There was a $12,000 vendor charge that didn't match the contract, some consulting services line that was vague as hell. No hours, no breakdown, just a lump sum. I slid the paper across the table. "This invoice isn't right," I said. "We approved $7,000. They billed $12. That's a $5,000 discrepancy." Rhett barely looked up from his phone. "It's fine. I've got it handled." "It's not fine. It's not even close." They padded this invoice. "We're being overbilled." Warren let out that long, annoyed sigh, the one he used when he thought someone was wasting his time. "Linda," he said, leaning back in his chair like he couldn't believe he had to explain this. "You're not managing vendor relationships. That's not your lane." "I'm managing budgets," I said, sharper than I meant to, "which includes watching for fraud." His jaw clenched. Then he said it. "You're an outsider in this, Linda. Let it go." The word hit like a slap. Outsider. After everything I'd done, the years I gave up, the late nights fixing Rhett's messes, the holidays I worked through while they flew to Mexico, I was still nothing more than an outsider. I didn't say a word. I just gathered my notes, stood up, and walked out of the room. The lockout started 2 days later. First, I got an error trying to access the vendor dashboard. Permission denied. I emailed IT, no response. Then my company card got declined at Office Depot. Turns out it had been canceled. Next time I logged into the main budget portal, my access had been downgraded to read only. I could see numbers, but I couldn't touch them. And Rhett? He was on Instagram posting photos from some rooftop pool in Vegas, tagging business development on a post of him holding a cigar in a rented cabana. He wasn't even subtle about it. Nobody asked questions. Nobody froze his card. Nobody checked the books. I sat at my desk and started taking notes. Real notes, not the kind you put in shared folders. The kind you keep to yourself, emails, meeting logs, time-stamped invoices. I took screenshots of Slack threads, redlined PDFs, payment approvals that looked too convenient. Anything that smelled off, I kept. I created a folder on my personal drive, named it Shadow Ledger. I didn't label things or organize it too neatly, just dragged and dropped. I didn't want to make it easy for anyone but me. Every time I found a number that didn't line up, I added it. Every time a payment got rushed through without my sign-off, I saved the confirmation. Every time Rhett's travel line item grew with no receipts, I made a note. At night, I'd sit on my couch with my laptop open and stare at it all. They'd cut me out, and they thought I'd just take it. Quietly fade out the way I always had. But they'd trained me too well. I knew where everything lived. I knew the blind spots. I knew the tricks Rhett pulled when he didn't want Warren asking questions. The way he'd reclassify travel as research or put personal charges under vague categories like development costs. I kept digging. And every day, I got quieter, smaller, on purpose. They didn't want me in the room? Fine. But I was going to see everything. I knew I needed a second set of eyes. Someone smart. Someone outside the family web. Danielle fit the bill. We weren't close in high school, but we'd circled the same college prep crowd. She was the type who color-coded her notebooks and graduated early. Now she wore power suits and billed by the quarter hour. We met at a coffee shop off Hawthorne. Neutral ground. She ordered a green tea. I stuck with black coffee. No small talk. I handed her a folder right after we sat down. She flipped through the paperwork, tapping her pen against the table. When she hit the loan documents, she raised an eyebrow. "You're not a guarantor," she said. "You're a co-signer, but only tied to the credit evaluation. You're not financially responsible if you remove yourself before default." I stared at her. "So I can walk away?" She nodded. Cleanly. That should have been the moment I jumped. I could have pulled the plug right then, killed the access, sent the notice, disappeared. But I didn't. I went home, opened the shadow ledger, and kept watching. Rhett had gotten cocky. I started noticing initials on approval forms that didn't match mine, sloppy forgeries pretending to be oversight. There were purchase orders with no follow-ups, consulting fees that went nowhere, the same 3 vendors getting paid, with no actual deliverables. Warren either didn't see it or didn't care. More likely, he knew and convinced himself it was necessary. But none of it surprised me. They'd always thought I was too cautious, too rigid, too much of a stickler. That's why they cut me out. I asked too many questions. Now, I ask none. I documented, quietly, every fake signature, every invoice with ghost hours. Every time a client lunch showed up on a Saturday night with a $300 bar tab and no client name listed. I didn't talk to anyone, not even Danielle. I didn't need more advice. What I needed was precision. I wasn't just walking away. I was removing my name without giving them the chance to twist it. Every move they made gave me more reason, more evidence, more ground to stand on if they tried to come back later and say I'd abandoned the family. They love to weaponize that word, family, but families don't forge your initials to cover their ass. I started prepping files, labeled them clearly, one set for my accountant, one for the bank, one for Danielle. I made backup copies and stored them in 2 separate places. This wasn't about revenge. It was about clarity, clean lines, legal ones. They wanted me invisible. I could work with that. 2 weeks later, I got a credit alert. It was early. Gray morning light leaking through the blinds. My coffee still too hot to sip. When my phone buzzed. Flagged activity on co-signed account. I opened the app and just stared. Loan past due, 92 days, 3 months behind. I'd been locked out for months, stripped of every login, every card. But apparently, my name still had value. I opened my laptop and dug in. The first thing I found was a vendor email sent to a commercial lender. Rhett had CC'd a rep from the bank, casually dropping. Linda's monitoring the expansion cash flow closely. She'll circle back if anything's out of scope. That email was dated 2 weeks ago. I hadn't touched a financial dashboard since January. I felt the heat rise in my chest. Not panic, fury. I opened the shadow ledger and got to work. By noon, I'd uncovered over 40 grand in consulting payments to a firm with no address, no website, and no listed employees. Their invoice descriptions were one-liners: strategic development, operational scaling, growth review, all billed at $500 an hour. Fake. The marketing line was worse. $15,000 for brand amplification, but the campaign link led to a broken Squarespace page with a stock photo and a phone number that rang to a disconnected line. Every dollar a lie. I went back through old email threads and spotted my name used at least 5 more times, always as reassurance, always implying I was reviewing, approving, backing it up. Meanwhile, Rhett was still posting champagne selfies on stories. I called Danielle. "Come by," she said. "Bring everything." Her office was in a low-rise downtown, glass walls and quiet hallways. She didn't waste time on pleasantries, just cleared a space on her desk and motioned for me to start. I laid it all out. The flagged invoices, the forged initials, the vendor overcharges, the emails with my name used like a rubber stamp. She didn't flinch once, just took notes, flipped pages, and finally leaned back. "You don't need to warn them," she said. "They used your name to hold the wall together. You don't owe them a heads up." I looked at her. "So what do I do?" She smiled. Not kind, not cruel, just steady. "Move the brick holding up the wall," she said, "and let it fall." It sounded cold, but it wasn't revenge. It was just reality. They'd built this thing wrong from the start. No checks, no discipline, no respect for the people holding it up. I wasn't blowing anything up. I was stepping back and letting gravity do the work. Still, it felt heavy. Even now, even with the proof in my hands. Danielle slid a legal pad toward me. "List every contact. Bank representatives, internal staff. Anyone you think they've misled," I started writing. My pen didn't stop for 3 pages. She stood. "You're clean. You've documented everything. When you move, make it clean. No drama, no warnings, just precision." I nodded. Because I was ready. I went home, locked the front door, and sat down with my laptop like I was clocking in for a shift. No music, no distractions, just me, the shadow ledger, and one last window left open to the mess they'd built. There was a portal most people forgot existed, a dusty old admin panel tied to the original vendor system we'd used before Rhett's visionary revamp. I'd set it up myself back when they trusted me with passwords. They never revoked it. I logged in, bypassed the splash screen, and uploaded the withdrawal paperwork. Notarized, clean, dated. No emotion, just facts. I was removing myself as a cosigner. Effective immediately, no warning, no message, just uploaded and out. Next, I opened a blank email. Subject line, immediate concern, loan account and vendor activity. I addressed it directly to the bank manager, not the general contact. Attached a folder with selected entries, redacted invoices, falsified initials, inconsistent payment patterns. Just enough to flag without dragging it into drama. My body was still, calm, my fingers steady on the keys. I ended the email with one line: I am no longer affiliated in any capacity with Wells and Sons Development Group, effective today. Sent, that was it. No press, no fireworks, just paperwork, proof, and silence. 3 hours later, I got a notification from the bank. The company's operating account had been temporarily frozen for internal review. I called my accountant. He answered on the second ring. You all right? Just tell me, am I exposed? He pulled up my trust and credit reports in real time while I waited, heart like ice in my chest. You're clean, he said finally. They can't touch you. You did everything right, I exhaled. Let my shoulders drop for the first time in weeks. That night, I put my phone on silent and left it face down on the counter. Didn't check it once. I took a long shower, made pasta, poured a glass of wine, slept with the window open, and I didn't dream. The next morning, I woke up to 32 missed calls. By lunchtime, it was 78. By the time I got back from the grocery store, the number was 84. Missed calls, voicemails, unread texts piling in faster than I could clear them. I plugged my phone into the charger, set it on the counter, and let it go. I didn't owe them urgency. The voicemail started auto-playing while I was putting away the eggs. Gordon, the accountant, came first. Rambling, panicked, trying to sound calm. Hey, Linda, just a heads up. Got a weird notice from the bank today. Not sure if you were looped. If you could give me a call, I'd really appreciate it. Then Rhett. Louder, meaner. His voice all clipped and fast like he was trying not to scream. You just pulled out? Are you serious? You couldn't even give us a heads up? We could have handled this internally. What the hell, Linda? Another one. You always act like you're above all this. Like you're cleaner than the rest of us. Guess what? You're not than my mom. Soft, trembling. Always the guilt. Sweetheart, I don't know what's going on, but this affects all of us. You can't just do things like this without talking to the family first. Can you please call me? Another one from her. Your father's very upset. Rhett's trying to fix things. I wish you'd said something. I turned the volume down and sat at the table with a banana I no longer wanted. The messages kept coming. Rhett texted, "This is sabotage. We could have fixed it if you'd stayed in the loop." Then, "I know you're reading these. Be an adult and call me back." I didn't respond. I didn't even feel the itch to. But when my mom called again and left a third voicemail, I picked up, not to argue, just to end it. "Linda?" Her voice cracked like she'd already been crying. "Are you okay? Please, talk to me?" I spoke slowly, clearly. I removed my name. That's all. There was a beat of silence. Then she whispered, "This affects all of us." I didn't raise my voice. I didn't sigh. "No, you made sure it didn't." I could hear her inhale like she was about to beg or scold or do that soft manipulation thing she'd always done when she didn't know how to handle pushback. I ended the call before she could. There wasn't anything left to explain. I stood there for a long time, staring out the window at the street. Same cars, same birds picking at the trash can across the road, same everything. And yet, nothing felt the same. They wanted me to feel like I'd betrayed something sacred, but the only thing I'd betrayed was the lie that this was ever a real family business. Or a real family. Still, I knew how this would go. They'd twist it, rewrite it, paint me as bitter, dramatic, cold. So I made a decision. One final meeting. Not to fix things, I wasn't that naive, but to say it all clearly, on my terms, with no chance of being edited or buried or drowned in guilt. I grabbed my bag, opened my calendar, and sent a message to Rhett. 1 hour, Wednesday, Caldera's. Your move, if you want to talk. He replied 3 minutes later. We'll be there. Of course they would. I parked 2 blocks away on purpose. Caldera's still had the same red awnings, same chipped concrete steps, same patio heater that never worked. It was the family's default celebration spot, Birthdays, graduations, post-deal dinners, all of it. I couldn't count how many times I'd sat at that corner booth, listening to Warren toast his vision like we were just lucky to witness it. I checked my watch. 12 minutes late. Perfect. I walked in wearing jeans, a black button-down, and flats. No makeup, no jewelry. Just clean lines, clean posture. Like I had somewhere better to be, because I did. They were already seated. Rhett on the aisle, Warren in the middle, Lynette across from him, twisting a napkin in her lap like she was at a funeral. Rhett stood halfway when he saw me. Hey, there she is. Fake smile, voice 2 octaves too high. Like this was a brunch. I sat without a word. Warren cleared his throat like he was stepping up to a podium. Linda, before you say anything, I want to remind you, this company was built with sweat. Family sweat. Mistakes were made, yes, but everything we did for the future. He glanced at Lynette like she'd back him up. She looked down at the table. Rhett jumped in. We know you're upset. You felt excluded. That's fair. But going behind our backs to freeze the account? Come on, that's not how families work. I opened my bag and pulled out a folder. Set it in the center of the table. Neat, unbothered. Warren frowned. What's that? My affidavit, I said. Full withdrawal from the company. I've removed my name from every legal tie. The bank has it. So does my lawyer. Rhett's face flushed. This isn't a joke, Linda. It's not, I said calmly. And just so you're prepared, an anonymous tip is going to the state auditor's office this week. I'd suggest hiring a real bookkeeper. Lynette's mouth dropped open. Wait, what? You forged my name, I said, turning to Rhett. You used my credit. You submitted false reports. And then you locked me out. Warren leaned forward, palms up like he could fix this with tone alone. We can explain everything. It just got messy. You're still one of us? No, I'm not. Rhett slammed his palm on the table. You're burning down everything we built. You built a lie, I snapped. I just stopped pretending it wasn't one. Lynette's voice was barely a whisper. What do you want? I met her eyes. They looked older than I remembered. I want to stop pretending I was ever part of this. Nobody moved. I stood, took the folder back, and slid it into my bag. Nobody followed me out. The article hit 3 days later, buried halfway down the digital edition of the Willamette Business Digest, under the title, Developer Faces Internal Audit Amid Financial Misconduct Allegations. It didn't name me, but it didn't have to. It listed the company, the bank, a quote from an anonymous legal source close to the matter. The freeze. The pending review. I didn't leak it. I knew that for a fact. But Gordon? Probably. He'd do anything to look like he was cooperating, saving face while the ship sank. My phone started buzzing again, this time not with silence or guilt, but heat. Warren's new voicemail came in first. You've humiliated this family, everything we worked for, gone. I hope you know what you've done then, Rhett. You think you're clean? You're not. You'll need us again. One day I didn't save any of them. Didn't listen to the rest. I blocked their numbers. Danielle called while I was unpacking glassware into a cabinet that didn't creak. They're scrambling, she said. Their lawyer's furious. They're looking for someone to blame. They always are, I said. You good? I looked around the loft. Wide windows, hardwood floors, no photos on the wall yet. But it was mine. Quiet, untouched. I'm clean, I told her. That's enough. I started sleeping through the night again. No buzzing phone on the nightstand. No pit in my stomach when the mail arrived. No fake emergencies waiting for me on a Monday morning. I registered my LLC the next week. Visible Strategies. 2 clients signed within a month. Both women. Both founders. Both tired of being the sidekick in someone else's story. I didn't take them on because I was trying to heal. I took them on because I chose to. I still had folders from the Shadow Ledger. Still had Danielle's number saved under favorites. Still kept receipts backed up in the cloud, just in case. But I didn't open them. I didn't need to. Every part of me they tried to silence, the sharpness, the clarity, the refusal to play nice, those were the parts I used now. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't shrinking to fit into someone else's structure. I had my own. And I wasn't invisible anymore. I found the envelope in my mailbox on a Tuesday afternoon. Plain white, bank letterhead, no drama. I opened it right there in the hallway, keys still in my hand. This letter confirms the removal of Linda Ray Wilson from all borrower and cosigner responsibilities associated with loan ID number 3918-04-27. No thank you. No apology. No acknowledgement. Just legal confirmation that I was finally, officially out. I walked upstairs, slipped off my shoes, and carried the letter to my desk. Slide it into the black accordion file under the tab labeled Complete. Then I lit a candle by the window. It wasn't a ritual. I just wanted the light. The silence in the room didn't feel empty. It felt earned, like air after a storm. Outside, traffic moved steady. No sirens, no shouting. Just the hum of a world that kept going, with or without the Wilson family name stitched to everything. I poured myself a glass of wine, opened a new client file on my laptop. Her name was Hannah, restaurant owner, sharp, exhausted, and ready to burn it all down if someone didn't help her make sense of the margins. I clicked into the blank intake form and typed one line at the top. "You're not difficult. You're just finally visible." Then I hit save,